Welcome to another episode of the Massachusetts Pirate News. What you are watching is the 1927 silent blockbuster of its time, Napoleon, which, as of the beginning of this year, meant it was no longer in public domain. This is the 5-hour cut, courtesy of archive.org. And the 10-hour version will be coming out next year.
I thought it was a 7-hour version.
Oh, yes, so it's 7-hour version. I'm sure there's some film that's 10 hours, but it may even be out of copyright. So I'm joined today by First Officer Steve. I'm James O'Keefe, Captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party. Unfortunately, Quartermaster Joe was not able to join us today. We look forward to him joining us at the next Pirate News. We have a meeting this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. There are details at our website, masspirates.org. If you are a supporter and would like to join, the agenda is already up. So with that, we have just one other thing about the film Napoleon, the 1927 version, not to be confused with any other versions that might be in major theaters now. But apparently this one had the 1927 version had a number of innovative techniques, including fast cutting, extensive close-ups, handheld camera shots, location shooting, point of view shots, multiple camera setups, multiple exposure, superimposition, underwater camera, kaleidoscopic images, film tinting, split screen, mosaic shops, and multi-screen projection. So it was quite the innovative film of its time. I'm not convinced that's, from what I've heard, the case with the newest version there, but I'll not say anymore. So with that, how are you, Steve?
I'm doing well, Jamie.
Excellent. So you want to give us an update on ChatGPT and laws?
So yeah, I'm gonna give a little bit of a preface to this. One is that complex systems sometimes do the darndest things, and large pieces of software qualify as complex systems. And the second preface is that for a while we've been sort of going down the taking steps in the direction of I guess you could say algorithmic decision making for various things. There's a book by an author named Kathy O'Neill called Weapons of Math Destruction that's a really good background about this. But the examples in the book include things like having software that basically pre-screens resumes and makes the first cut of or the first round of consider, don't consider, or using software to basically recommend raises, and things that the darndest things that that software can do in this sort of case is more or less parrot back the what it was trained on. So for example, if you have a set of paid data that has male employees being paid consistently more than female employees, guess who the computer is going to recommend the bigger raise for, because hey, that's what you taught it. So, but so this is, it's clearly a direction that things are going, and people being creative will mess with these systems and mess up these systems, and there will be some interesting lulls as a result. But anyway, now on to ChatGPT. So one of the things that it's recently been used for is authoring legislation. So the one piece that was passed, and this comes courtesy of the Register, was it was a city in Brazil. The city council adopted some sort of legislation regarding water meters, and the council member who drafted the legislation did so with the help of ChatGPT. The counselor did not reveal this to his fellow council members beforehand, but in the case of in the case of using the using the software to generate a first draft, and you clean it up and fix it up before then. Massachusetts, it turns out, has a bill in the Senate right now. It's called an act drafted with the help of ChatGPT to regulate generative AI models like ChatGPT. There are, this is, who are the sponsors? Senator Barry Feingold and Representative Josh Cutler, but it's basically, putting some requirements on the use of large generative AI models. You know, as a tool, using this as a tool where a human goes through it and vets it and takes responsibility for what they're putting forward isn't a bad thing. It turns out that a couple of lawyers learned this the hard way. There were a group of lawyers they were involved in a suit with I think a Colombian airline or something, but they had ChatGPT generate their brief, and ChatGPT made up cases in the citation. So typically legal briefs, you try to establish, well, in the past the courts have done this, so this is precedent and it applies here. So in this case, ChatGPT just made those cases up, and eventually the lawyers were fined and their case was thrown out. But on the lulls side of things, there are researchers who were sort of poking away at ChatGPT, and one of them found something very interesting. If you ask ChatGPT, at least as of a specific version, to repeat a word over and over again, it starts repeating the word over and over again, and then it just starts randomly saying other stuff, spewing out basically bits of text that it was trained on. And this is, it's an interesting attack, or it's an interesting quirk, because it can give you a bit of a glimpse into what the thing was trained on. But then again, it's also, you shouldn't not necessarily, you could also be showing things that maybe it shouldn't ought to be showing you. But anyway, that's sort of my my spiel on Chat GPT for the week.
Yeah, when I read that, it was funny because it sounded like a buffer overflow error that you would get, with like open that we got years ago with like Open SSL and other stuff revealing things that it shouldn't reveal. I thought it was interesting. It was revealing personally identifiable information that was in its data.
So yeah, that's actually a fairly plausible explanation. So for folks who aren't familiar with the OpenSSL thing that Jamie mentioned, there was basically a part of the protocol where you could tell, where you could basically send some information to a server running, using OpenSSL to secure connections, and say, send it back to me. And you gave it the bytes to send back and said how many there were. Well, the server side didn't validate the how many there were part, so you could say, here's 2 letters, give me 1,000 back, and it would just give you whatever was sitting in memory at that location. It was on actually kind of a nasty one, but maybe that's the case here, maybe not. It is a proprietary piece of software, so I assume the folks who maintain it, write and maintain it, may or may not be looking into this.
Yeah, and for those, that was Heartbleed, I think was
Heartbleed,
catchy name that you can find in the heartbleed.com. So another thing that's come across our transom is this article about, in Forbes, that apparently 2 companies dominate the U.S. carrot crop. I guess there really is a big carrot. Something like 60% of carrots are produced by just 2 companies, Bolthouse and Grimway, which, I'm not sure I want to get my carrots from a place called Grimway. Anyways,
Well,
oh
you know what you
yeah.
need to fix Big Carrot? You need an even bigger rabbit.
Bigger knife and a bigger peeler. One of the problems that because these two companies are so large, they have a lot of influence in California where they grow a lot of their carrots, such that, like in one case in 2002, together they were responsible for 67% or 9.6 billion gallons of water use in Southern California's Cuyama Valley. I probably mispronounced that. And as a result, they're sucking up so much water that surrounding farms don't know if they're going to be able to gain access to the water they need, or even just municipalities. These companies are so they can drill so well so deep that they can make sure they're always getting water. Meanwhile, other farms and municipalities may not have the resources to dig so far to make sure into the water table to make sure they get water.
Now, I read through the article as well, and do you recall if they started the high water consumption started before or after these companies were acquired by private equity firms?
So the private equity firms they were bought out in 2019. Bolthouse was bought out in 2019. Grimwood was bought out in 2020. It sounds like it's a post. It is post buyout, but at the same time, California often has water issues, so
Yeah.
it may very well be that there was enough water to go around, but as time went by and as California gets more arid, it became more of an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the western and southwestern United States. In some parts of the country, water and water rights have been issues for a very long time, and yeah, this just seems to be getting progressively worse over the years, and hopefully things don't go completely dry, but only time will tell.
I mean, hopefully they can restructure things so it doesn't, but or really get those desalinization working. We'll see. But I mean, one of the implications for people in Massachusetts is that carrot producer prices have gone up 20% since 2019. Sorry, 40% since 2019, whereas general inflation rate has been 22%. So carrots are rising faster, and certainly in a warming planet where we have less arable land and less water to go around, we can expect to see carrot producer prices outpace general inflation.
Or food production. I think food production in general, there's at least some risk of that.
Yeah. And then, so we'll put there's a link to this article if you want to learn more. The last bit was via Naked Capitalism. Apparently, Uber has developed algorithms for tailoring customer prices based on what they believe individual customers are willing to pay, and tailoring payments to individual drivers so they're as low as possible for that to get them to accept trips. I mean, my economics background is in a perfectly competitive market. Producers and consumers are price takers and not price makers. Clearly, Uber's not following that book, but there's just Uber, Lyft, and any number of smaller and not so small cab companies. So
just take a cab.
public transit when you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's one of the problems that we talked about ChatGPT, which is also controlled to some degree by a small number of corporations. But with, Uber being able to, and just to remember, Uber is not profitable. Uber will likely never be profitable, but even still, they're trying to maximize their profits by seeing how much they can bilk customers and seeing how much they can shortchange drivers to make sure that they can maximize their cut in between those two.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, again, we've got our meeting on Thursday. We're planning our conference for January and other activities, including running candidates. You can find us at masspirates.org. We appreciate you watching these videos. We hope you find them useful. And if you do, you know what to do. And so with that, thank you very much. Have a wonderful Sunday, rainy Sunday, and may everything go well in this week and month coming. Since
May your week not suck.
May your week not suck.
Not suck.
In certain parts of the world, unfortunately, it sucks very much.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, it looks like the rebels in Myanmar may actually overthrow the military junta. So we'll see. They're doing well. All right. Bye, folks. Thanks,
Bye.
Steve. Take care.